Hello, hello, and welcome back. You are in for a treat today as we have the one and only Brent Weaver, who is your host for all but maybe this hour today. Brent is a phenomenal human being. Not only is he a thinker, he is also a doer. And recently in an interview, he said one of his biggest pieces of advice and that what's contributed most to his success is doing the work, right? So leader, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and really a good human being to be around at all times. So Brent Weaver is here. He's going to be talking about none other but AI and how to leverage it to not only avoid extinction, a little dramatic, but hey, that's what we're talking about today, and also to maximize growth. And if I know Brent Weaver at all, he's going to be talking about with this growth, what that brings you kind of some joy. Why are we growing? What's important? So Brent, handing it over to you. Thank you for being here as our guest speaker right now. Always love to be in the same universe as you.
Thank you, Jen. And we are talking about AI today, and humans can feel joy, but I don't know if the robots get to feel joy quite yet. So the goal is we keep feeling the joy, and the robots, avoid making us go extinct as service professionals. So I'm excited to be hanging out with you with this session. You'll see the Vistara brand on this. Vistara is an AI conference that E2M hosts. We just had this in May. We had over 300 agencies in Austin, Texas, hanging out with us to talk about AI and all the things that AI is impacting our industry. Cloudways was actually one of our premier partners for Vistara. So if you haven't checked out Vistara, I'll include a link at the end, but you'll see kind of that Vistara branding on my talk today. So for the next 30, 40 minutes, I'm going to talk about how to leverage AI to avoid going extinct. And we don't just want to avoid going extinct. We actually want to thrive and maximize our business's growth. And like a lot of you, I've been spending a lot of my time as a CEO thinking about the future of digital agencies because of this huge technological shift that's happened. Jen did a fantastic introduction of me, but to formally introduce myself, I actually am currently CEO at E2M. I joined the company as CEO last year, so just over a year on the job, but I've spent the better part of the last 2 decades helping agencies grow. At E2M, we're a 100% white label partner. We help over 400 agency partners. We've got about 390 people on our team currently at E2M. And I want to just tell you, like agency owner to agency owner, I love what I do. You all are my favorite people, and being in this room, hanging out on Agency Advantage is one of life's great pleasures. A little bit about E2M. We exist to help digital agencies profitably and reliably grow faster with a world-class team, systems, and community. So we're really big on building community. I'd love to hear about how you guys are using AI right now. So I'm just going to throw out some questions, and you can let me know if you're using AI right now for these different use cases. So how many of you are using AI as a daily assistant? I want you to throw the word assistant in chat. How many of you guys are using AI as a daily assistant right now in your business? OpenClaw agents, assistant. Okay, yeah, cool. Lots of people saying assistant. Okay, how about how many of you are using AI to automate some part of your agency's operations? Either write not yet or automate. Not yet or automate. Okay, so potentially, there we go. Not yet or automate. How many of you are using AI to automate some part of your agency's automation or operations? Okay, not yet. Megan, got it. Automate. So, all right, cool. How about using AI to deliver your work? We're going to say not yet or deliver. How many of you are using AI to deliver your work? Deliver, not yet. Any, okay? Yeah, not yet. All right. How about, I know I'm moving fast. How many of you are using AI to, how many of you are selling AI as a service? Either write the word selling or not yet. How many of you are selling AI as a service? Okay. A couple of you selling, not yet. Seeing a couple more not yet's on here. All right. Some of you. Okay, cool. So here's like, we're a few years into AI now, right? I think there's like the super AI early adopters that have been doing this for like decades, and you're like, what, decades? And then there's the rest of us, right? The last couple of years. How many of you here, and I want you to be honest on this question, but how many of you here are worried that AI might make your agency go extinct? Or how many of you lean more towards the grow side? It's going to actually help you grow your agency. Write the word extinct if you think it's going to help you go, it's going to force you to go extinct, or write the word grow if you think AI is going to ultimately help you grow. And when I say grow, I mean like more money in the pocket, right? Grow, but not sure how. Okay. All right. I love the optimism. So whether you're using AI to accelerate the growth of your business, or you're worried about AI, my promise over the remainder of this session is to help you leverage AI to grow your agency. Does that sound like a good use of our time over the next, 35 or so minutes? Probably. That's why you guys are here. Sometimes I ask rhetorical questions. Does anybody remember their first client, their very first client? Who here remembers their first client? Who here remembers their very, very first client? Never forget, right? Write like 3 words that describe your first client in chat, right? Write 3 words that describe struggling to make first client. Sure do. Like, who was your first client? Who was their first client? A couple of words. Peyton, Ryan. All right. I meant like what type of business they run, right? Not like a description of their relationship with you, right? But I love that, right? So don't have one yet. So several folks. Okay. And that's totally fun. So a realtor was your first client. All right. Thanks, Blake. Hair shampoo company, selling carpets. I love this, right? Like nobody had like Nike as their first client, right? Local meat shop, right? Like, we all have humble beginnings. Y'all want to see my first client? You want to see my very, very first client as an agency? Yeah, Jen says yes. All right, Cupcake Shop. This is my first client. Sherney's Candy Store in Michigan. This place is still open to this day. It was paint the picture here as 1999. And I was hired to build a 1-page website for this candy store. 1-page website. I got paid $500, $500 whopping dollars, to build a 1-page e-commerce site. You ready to see what websites look like in 1999? No judgment. This is a safe space. All right, here's my 1-page website. It was worth every penny. 1 page. For context, I was 17 years old at the time. I was making $6 an hour at a local fabric store, stocking shelves on the weekends. And I built this 1-page site. It took me a day. That form that says internet ordering is now available was an unsecure form that sent an email to my 17-year-old inbox with the customer's credit card information, in which I forwarded to my client. And actually, when I first launched this project for her, I actually had to fax the orders to her because she didn't have an email address signed up yet. So basically, I've been doing this more or less. I've been doing the same thing, building websites and digital marketing for the last 27 years, just bigger scale. And I promise you much better quality projects. But here's the deal. And Matt, that's kind of freaking me out. But as y'all can see, I have lots of gray hair. This cover story came out in Wired magazine in 2010. I had been running my agency for about 10 years, and this cover story, this showed up in my mailbox, right? I'm here running my agency. I go out to check the mail one day. I literally pull this magazine out back when people use magazines, and here this magazine's cover story is basically like, your business is going away, right? And how many of us kind of feel like, right, like we're hearing this again with AI, right? Here's how many times the web has quote unquote died, right? 2000 and 2002, .com bust, right? Really, it was death to free money, right? 2003 to 2008, WordPress is taking over. Nobody's going to pay for websites anymore because WordPress is free. Like ... Like, how many of us have made lots of money on WordPress, right? Probably everybody in the room here. The app revolution. Every business is going to have an app. Nobody needs apps anymore. Nobody needs websites anymore because we're all just going to have an app, right? I remember people telling me like, oh, you got to get into apps. Nobody's going to build websites anymore. And like, look, apps have their place, but gosh, man, businesses still spend a ton of money on their websites. Social media, right? I remember I got cornered at a networking event, and I kid you not, like this person was like cornering me, and they were like, Brent, businesses, you should stop building websites. Businesses are just going to have free Facebook business pages. That's it. They're going to have their business page. Facebook's going to provide it for free. There's no point in having a website. Right? 2026, right? How did that work out, right? Now, not to say that people aren't making lots of money on social media. Social media is great for ad platforms, but there's something to be said about having an owned media asset. Your website, you own it. Meta can't tell you what can and can't happen on your website. And so, right, that's something that obviously didn't come to fruition. 2016 to 2020, right? You got Wix, you got Webflow, you got Squarespace. And again, I heard this same talk track, right? People are going to build their own websites. They're not going to hire web professionals. They're not going to hire web agencies. They're not going to hire digital agencies, right? And, you know, like, did that actually happen? Like, no, right? And then now we have the AI era, right? And what are we hearing again? Right? The web is going to be dead. The web's going to be dead. The web's going to be going away, right? AI is going to eat everybody's business and all this kind of stuff. Well, here's some context. The reason that Wired Magazine wrote that article back in 2010 was because in the year 2000, as a share of overall internet traffic, web started declining. As a percentage of overall internet traffic, if you think of it as a fixed pie, the share of web traffic was declining. Anybody here know like why this model is just fundamentally wrong? Like this model was why they said the web was dead, because other things got invented. Well, see, it turns out if you actually take away the fixed pie nature of this, this is actually the trend. This guy named Rag Bashiza came out with a correction and basically like Wired is a bunch of idiots because the actual share of internet and web traffic has gone up exponentially over that period. So the actual share of web traffic has gone up exponentially. And what we've seen is people went from spending, 30 minutes to an hour on a computer a day to now it's something crazy like 6 to 8 hours of average screen time per day, average non-TV screen time. The numbers are actually really crazy. In fact, in 2010, only 25% of the internet of the world actually had access to the internet. And so that means that most people didn't even have access to the internet when they said the web was dead. And I think we're all seeing something happen around us, right? These exponential curves are growing, and they're doing what we're calling convergence, right? Where when different exponential curves all start happening at the same time, we start to get some really interesting technological shifts, and that's really what AI comes from. So Moore's law, it's an example of an exponential curve, says compute doubles in power every 18 months. And there's exponential curves with compute, there's exponential curves with storage, and the cost of storage is decreasing. There's been some blips and blurbs of that over time. The number of internet connected nodes has been going up exponentially. So there's all these exponential kind of curves that are happening, and this convergence is really uncomfortable. How many of you guys have been in a Tesla before, right? It's somebody does a launch, they like hit the pedal, right? It feels really uncomfortable. It feels really uncomfortable. Think about this, a Tesla stops accelerating at like 120 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour, right? If somebody's willing, right? But technology does not stop accelerating. So it'd be like you're in this kind of forever, that feeling you get when a Tesla accelerates and your stomach or your heart and your throat drops into your stomach, right? Like that is happening, but it does not stop at 120 miles an hour. It continues to accelerate. Now, Sam Altman says AI models are doubling in power about every 6 months. About every 6 months. That means like if you don't think that AI can do a job today, just wait 6 months. And to illustrate this, I want to show you a visual of Bruce Lee, right? Think of this as AI today. Okay, Bruce Lee is giving you a 1-inch punch. And even using Bruce Lee as an example is probably aging me. I don't know if people still talk about Bruce Lee. I'm assuming they do, right? But imagine Bruce Lee comes up to you and says, hey, can I give you a 1-inch punch? I would be willing to take a 1-inch punch from Bruce Lee for like $100. I'd be like, all right, give me $100. You can punch me. It's probably going to knock me over, right? But let's say Bruce Lee says, in 6 months, I'm going to come back. I'm going to punch you twice as hard. So instead of a 1-inch punch, he's going to hit you with a 6-inch punch, right? Now I'm feeling all of a sudden maybe slightly uncomfortable, right? So Bruce Lee's 6-inch punch, right, is knocking me across the room. Now let's say 6 months. So now 1 year from that original thing, Bruce Lee's going to come back. So he's going to say, I'm going to punch you again twice as hard. At that point, I'm asking for some private security, right? I'm like, okay, I need to make some changes in my habits and lifestyles to make sure this dude can't find me. When something doubles every 6 months, in 5 years, that means that it's going to be over 1,000 times more powerful. So today, we're hanging out in 2026. In 2030, 2031, AI is going to be over 1,000 times more powerful than it is today. I want that to sink in for you. Everything that you think AI can't do today, there is a really good probability that it will be very capable, if not more capable than humans in 5 years. In 10 years, AI will be over 1,000,000 times more powerful. Now, see, I got to handle this. I got to see this kind of firsthand. We were redesigning the E2M website, and we do this like typical traditional process of Figma design to a front-end coded website that we then build on WordPress. That process traditionally from beautiful Figma site, and you guys can go check out this website at e2msolutions.com, but beautiful Figma design to actually working front-end website takes about 20 hours. Now, our team, I gave them the challenge of, I want you to do this with AI. They built some Claude skills. I'm just going to kind of show you a fast forward version of the team taking the Figma file, actually loading that into some Claude, a Claude agent that we have some skill files. And it's a process that the overall process of compute time with AI plus kind of the human QA takes about 5 hours. Our team has actually gotten this down to now about 2 hours for this specific workflow. For a Figma file to an ACF optimized WordPress setup takes about 2 to 3 hours, right? But our team initially did this in about 5 hours. Now I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my gosh, that's pretty crazy. 20 hours of web developer work is now 5 hours. Now E2M, we're a white label agency. We build on an hourly business model. And that means, and about half of our business is websites today. And out of the half of our business that's websites, half of that business is full website builds. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is really cool that the team just reduced the amount of billable time necessary, but our revenue comes from billable time. What the heck? Like, I'm patting my team on the back and I'm going, am I congratulating them for potentially reducing our revenue by 10 or 20% because of how much of this work we currently do today? It was kind of a strange feeling. Not only that, but I had literally just inked a lease for the 14th floor of our building in Ahmedabad, India. And here I am thinking to myself, who's going to work on the 14th floor? This is my open claw joke. So I'm waking up in the middle of the night thinking, who's going to be on the 14th floor? It's just going to be Mac Minis running OpenClaw, right? Like, and of course I'm having this dream. I'm having this kind of lucid dream. And I go up to one of the computers and, it has a Post-it note. Not only is it going to replace is OpenClaw and AI going to replace our web developers and project managers, but it's also going to replace me as CEO. So I have no hallucinations about how important this technological revolution is for our businesses. I don't know if y'all have ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, right? But this is what I would say is a tectonic who moved my cheese moment for agencies, for website builders, for digital marketers, for internet entrepreneurs, internet marketers. That the cheese is moving. And if y'all haven't felt this yet, just wait 6 months. And if you haven't felt it after that, wait another 6 months. I promise you, you're going to feel this. Now, if you don't know what I mean by who moved my cheese, if for some reason that metaphor is lost on you, cheese equals cheddar. Cheddar equals cash. Who here likes cash? You guys like cash? Does your business rely on cash? I don't know about you, but mine does. So our cheese is moving. But here's the deal. This is not the first time cheese has moved. I started to look when this first happened. I started going, oh my gosh, what's going on? How do we deal with this? And this isn't the first industry that's been hit by a technological change. Does anybody know what we're looking at right here in this picture? Any guesses? Anybody know what that picture looks like? Factory? Close. Model T Ford production line. Car factory? It's not. It's not. It's actually a car wash. It's actually a car wash. It uses the production line, but it's a car wash, right? In an assembly line, I think it solves the same analogy here. But a dirty car comes in on one side, a clean car comes out the other side, and in between there's this building, and there's a conveyor belt where the car moves along, and there's a whole bunch of humans that do the job, right? There's a whole bunch of humans that do the job. What do car washes look like today? There's one on every corner. There's like a person. Some of them don't even have people. They're just like an add-on to a gas station. Now, the gas station probably has to have a human present in case there's any kind of emergencies that happen, right? But like these bigger car washes have they have kind of a general operator that oversees the entire operation. The person knows how to check the soap levels. They understand how to troubleshoot basic issues. They can do a little bit of sales and marketing. They can do customer service. They basically sit in the front office. When something happens, they go address the issue, right? Sometimes they come out, they see a customer stuck at the line trying to get into the car wash or whatever. They come out, they press some buttons of the thing, and voila, the person goes through, and they probably try to upsell you a membership along the way. So what does this remind you of, right? Dirty car on one side, clean car on the other. Might remind me of an agency, right? Website brief comes in on one side, and finished website comes out on the other side, right? I'm not romantic about the work that we do. Like, it's really cool. It's technical. I'm a super geek. I love it. But at the end of the day, it's really simple. Client requirement comes in one side, client result comes in the other side. Now, a traditional agency has a bunch of people in between. You've got a project manager, there's a designer, there's a front-end developer, there's a back-end developer, there's a copywriter, there's an SEO analyst. Your accountability chart, your seats might look a little different. Maybe it's the agency owner, maybe it's a creative director, maybe it's a brand strategist. The point is there's a whole bunch of people that are doing some jobs in between. This is a traditional digital agency. And gosh, it looks a lot like that car wash on the left here, right? It's a building. There's some people inside. They have some skills. They do a job, and thing comes in one side, comes out the other side. Now, I've been a big proponent of helping people become AI-first agencies. But here's the deal. And we've done a lot of pushing at E2M to become AI first. And AI first just means, hey, when you guys have a project or a request coming in, we're using tools, AI tools, as a first line of offense to fulfill on that work. So everybody in the organization now has an AI assistant. A designer is using Figma, a developer is using Cursor or Claude, a backend developer is using Claude, copywriters using Chat, AI assistants are using Surfer, whatever your tool set is, right? This is the AI first web agency. And hopefully a lot of you have already started to adopt this method. But I don't think AI first is disruption yet. This is incremental technological innovation. Instead of just using Figma, you're using Figma Make. Instead of using, Dreamweaver or whatever, right? We're using Cursor, right? So it's not really that big of a disruption, right? Just the same people are using new technological tools. But I'm here telling you, this is not enough. This is not actually what's happening. AI is moving your cheese. AI is moving your cheese. And if we iterate through this problem, I don't think we're going to be successful. My perspective here is that we need to blow up our boats to take the island. And so I started looking for more examples. Now, there's a company called Netflix. Hopefully a lot of you, I love Netflix. I'm a subscriber, but Netflix wasn't always a streaming company. Some of you might be young enough to think that Netflix was always a streaming company. Netflix used to you'd order Netflix, you'd pick your movies, they'd take DVDs and they'd put them in envelopes and they would mail them to you. They would mail them. You'd get 3 DVDs or 2 DVDs. Your subscription was like how much you paid determined how many DVDs you could have at any one time, right? And they had this really innovative model, this recommendations engine online. People loved it. I loved Netflix, right? But people would put DVDs in mail. They shipped them to you. Now, Netflix wasn't in the DVD business. They weren't in the DVD. Anybody know what business that Netflix was in? Anybody have any guesses? What business was Netflix in? They weren't in the movie business. They weren't in the DVD business. They weren't in the movie business. Netflix understood fundamentally they were in the entertainment business. There you go, Jen. Thank you. So Netflix, their DVD revenue steadily declined over a 10-year period. Their streaming revenue hit completely new heights. At their peak, they were doing something like close to $1 billion in revenue for the DVD business. Now Netflix does like 6 billion or 7 billion or 10 billion a quarter. They're doing like 40 or 50 billion dollars in revenue every single year. So they've at Netflix at Blockbuster's peak, Blockbuster only did like $6 billion in revenue. Streaming is to entertainment how AI is to agency and productivity. Like streaming killed the DVD business. It killed DVDs. It killed DVD players. It killed DVD collections. It killed video rental stores. It killed Blockbuster, the mom and pop movie stores. They're all gone. But it also opened up a lot of new things too. Binge watching, Netflix and chill, Netflix babysitter, right? Watching a movie in the bath. Like in the DVD era, you couldn't like take it was like a commercial to like, don't put your TV in the bathroom, right? Like, cause it could fall in the bathtub and kill you, right? But now you can watch a movie from the comfort of your bathtub. You can watch a movie, anywhere. So it's like streaming. The takeaway here is that streaming destroyed a lot of businesses. A lot of people stopped making money how they used to make money. But it also simultaneously opened up new opportunities that were totally different. I watch a lot of, I love to bike, and I watch tons and tons of YouTube with these bikers, right? And it's crazy to see how these young athletes have figured out how to monetize their passion. They have sponsorships, they have channels, they have products, they have followers. When I was 16 years old, there was no distribution channel for me to have a multi-million-dollar business online with literally a phone in my pocket, right? A tiny little $900, $1,300 piece of equipment. Like that was not possible, but now all of a sudden I'm able to do that. I want you to take away, like, AI is going to actively destroy a really big part of our industry, but it's going to simultaneously create new opportunities that are probably even bigger and cooler and more exciting than the things that we used to have. Like 3 years from now, people are not going to be talking about doing manual front-end code for websites, even if they are today, right? Back-end developers are not going to be learning how to write code by hand. They're going to be learning engineering principles so that they can write code with the English language, right? They're not going to be learning programming language. It's just going to go away. That's just my position. I might be wrong. And please hold me accountable if I'm wrong. But look at like YouTube, right? YouTube has paid out over $30 billion to creators last year alone. Think about that. Blockbuster's peak revenue was $6 billion. And now you have all of these creators. Like, where did that money come from? Probably a lot of that money came from money that we used to pay to the Hollywood monoculture. And now we're giving it to YouTube in the form of advertising. And YouTube is giving that to this huge democratized workforce of creators. It's really something fascinating, right? Watching people like Mr. Beast and all of these really cool people. There's lots of people that aren't even on this chart that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. So back to agencies, right? We took a little business history tour, right? We started as the traditional web agency, right? We were building the brochure websites. Then we went into kind of this digital agency ecosystem, right? The mid 2010s, we started to kind of bundle services. Websites weren't just about websites. They were about getting results for clients. Then we go into this like data-driven optimization era, right? Where it wasn't just about websites and services anymore. It was about results. Clients started asking tough questions. Am I getting an ROI on this, right? You couldn't just charge a client $100,000 to build a website without actually showing them how that website made them millions of dollars. And then we get into this like 2022 to 2025, this AI first, AI augmented teams. Now, I think a lot of agencies are still kind of stuck in AI first. What is next? What's next? There's a whole new model coming, and that's what this presentation is about. Now, there's the old model, which is human done for you services. There's a new model where it's services and software. The old model, time-based. The new model, outcome and performance-based. The old model, IP lives in the heads of your people. Now it's codified into prompts and agents. Old model is disconnected systems of Slack and meetings. Now we have essential intelligence layers, as you guys saw with Kushbu earlier. Team of skill-based doers to systems builders. There is a big difference between people that have a skill and create a deliverable and people that know how to build systems that create deliverables. Those are very different mindsets. A team creates the deliverables, team creates systems that create deliverables. Linear capacity and growth, exponential growth, communication bound to a calendar, real-time and asynchronous, limited to billable work, inventing new ways to deliver value. So what I want to propose to you guys is I think we need a new name for this new generation of agencies. We could call it an AI agency, but that's not it, because it's not really just about AI. It's about the convergence of all this tech together: compute, storage, automation, and AI. So I'm calling it the Agentic agency, because ultimately we're transitioning from traditional agencies into agencies where AI systems are doing the job. And I call AI systems agents. I think it's simple. I think it's easy. We're moving from a digital agency that produces digital stuff, to a agentic agency where an agency produces agents and the agents do the stuff. So this is kind of completing our life cycle of, not completing, this is the next chapter in the agency story, okay, is the agentic agency. And this is about building dynamic agents that create autonomous outcome generating tools. All right, and this might feel like a big thing, but we're going from manual work to AI augmented teams to autonomous agents that are delivering outcomes at scale. And that means that the traditional web agency is going to move to this type of model where you have a website orchestrator, and that orchestrator has a team of agents that they are managing to create outcomes for clients. Now, once you have this in place and these agents are dialed and you can build websites with the click of a hat. Like I have seen I've seen agencies that we work with where they will have a discovery meeting with a client. They'll be on a call with a client. They will literally just do an initial audit, and they have their entire workflow built so they can literally finish that call. Their transcript of that call, which is, it's a structured call where they're collecting specific information. The transcript of that call goes into their agent system, and the agent system starts working, and it builds them their brand strategy. It builds them their brand. It builds them their website. It builds them the website copy. It actually then takes that, it actually takes that stuff into a staging environment. It basically does the soup to nuts process within minutes of leaving a discovery call. That is a fundamental different process. So the agentic agency is the agency of the future. And that's where we as agency owners, as agency professionals, we need to start shifting our ideas from skill-based seats to outcomes-based seats. And I'm calling that seat an outcomes engineer. Now, for some of you, it might be, hey, my job is I'm a sales engineer, right? Or I'm a traffic engineer, or I'm a Black Friday engineer, right? And you're going to have an army of agents that are helping you do lots of very, very technical things, cross-discipline, cross-domain. Outcomes engineers are people that typically have a broad skill set across a lot of things. They understand web, they understand SEO, they understand PPC, they understand social, they understand outbound, they understand how the whole system works together. And these specific agents have the technical and 100-mile deep expertise to actually get that work done and achieve the outcomes of the business. And I think ultimately, like, businesses do business with people, right? So I don't think there's a scenario where, the humans are completely out of the loop. I think most average business owners, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, are going to feel really uncomfortable working directly with an agent. And you can actually see this right now in the adoption of self-driving cars. There's a lot of people that are straight up uncomfortable handing over the driving to a Tesla on autopilot or a Waymo, right? These things don't have broad technological adoption, even though they've been proven concepts for many, many years right now, right? So it's going to take a while for a business to outsource their entire marketing outcomes to an agent. I just don't see that happening anytime in the next decade or two. I think it might eventually happen, but not for now. So how do we start building an agentic agency? Like, what does an agentic agency start to look at? What do you start to build? This is a share of US companies spending on self-built, custom, and prepackaged software. Now, what do we see here, right? There's been this trend, and all of our wallets probably feel this trend, in that prepackaged SaaS has slowly grown, and the amount of money that it takes out of our wallets has increased. I mean, I'm sure many of you have uh, recurring charges every month from your favorite SaaS tools. We have, literally like 100 tools we use at E2M, right? That budget continues to grow, not shrink. Now, here's what I believe. I believe over the next decade, we're going to start to see these trends change, because a lot of people are building self-built software now with just the English language and vibe coding. They're also starting to invest more in custom solutions. We've seen massive growth in our AI team this year, and that's because companies are, they were kind of decline. A lot of companies thought it was too costly, it was too expensive to build their own software to solve their own problems. So what do? They used really complicated spreadsheets, and on occasion, they invested in like an engineer to hook Zapier up to their existing SaaS systems. And I don't know about you all, but like, we have some Zapier systems that literally, it's like spaghetti code on top of spaghetti code. It's like hundreds and hundreds of automations that are all firing. And when one goes wrong, it's like a dumpster fire to figure out what's going on, right? And so companies now, because of vibe coding, because of these lovables, replets, et cetera, right? We're now building our own custom software. In a lot of cases, or at least some cases, a CEO doesn't even need to hire an engineer. They can vibe code out their entire solution, or at the very least, they can vibe code out their prototype to see what this looks like. So Sequoia came out with this article. They said the next $1 trillion company is going to be a software company masquerading as a services firm. That means behind the scenes, it will actually be a software layer that's doing the work, but on the front end, it seems like it's a service. And we've already seen some examples of this. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a story or a blog somewhere that basically Fathom, the AI transcription company, when they first launched their AI transcription service, a lot of those transcripts were actually done by humans using a similar service to Amazon Turk. But because their AI was not accurate enough for the prime time, but they wanted to be a first mover. They wanted to get all the press. They wanted to get all of that acknowledgement to gain that market position early, right? And so they told people that it was AI automation, which maybe there was parts of it that were, but ultimately it was still humans behind the scenes. Then once they got the AI systems working, then those obviously took over, right? Another article here by one of our advisors at E2M, Sarhat Paula, the customer, when software becomes the worker, your customer does not care about your kitchen. I know that might be disappointing. The customer cares about dinner. Customer cares about dinner. And what does this quote mean, right? It means that the main thing is keep the main thing the main thing. And what is the main thing? What is the main thing in your business? What does your customer care about? Does your customer care about what framework you're using to build a website? Or does your customer care about that their website gets them new leads and customers? What business are you really in? And if you get really clued in on that, just like Netflix, were they in the DVD business? Nope. Were they in the movie business? Nope. Were they in the movie rental business? Nope. Were they in the rental business? Nope. They were in the entertainment business. And that allowed them to pivot from one technology to the other because they understood what business they were in. So this is an exercise for today. Sit down and figure out, what business are you really in? And stop obsessing about the kitchen and start thinking about what the customer actually wants. Now, what's possible now? I'm really excited about AI because I'm seeing lots of new business models that weren't even available before. I'm also seeing lots of service businesses start to launch their own products. Some of these they're taking to market through a separate, SaaS subscription, but lots of them aren't taking them to market. They're actually just using them as part of their unfair advantage as an agency or part of their agency's intellectual property. And so there's all these new models available. There's new products that are being launched. And what I love is this services and software. Our team at E2M right now is building lots of software, delivering it as services. We're also using software to deliver the actual service, not as an assistant, but the agent itself is actually building the solution There might be a human in the loop right now, but ultimately the goal is to take those humans out of the loop. Here's an example by my friend Troy Dean. He's got this thing called the Headless Agency Blueprint, and his promise is $1 million a year agency, no staff, 10 hours a week. The agent interacts with the end customer via Slack. The client, it's a content marketing agency, but basically he plugs into your Slack, he does the onboarding, the agent asks questions of the client in Slack, the client responds to those questions, the agent goes and builds the content, loads it up in the social media platform, asks for permission to actually publish that, and then actually publishes the work. Now, you have a team member that's overseeing this work. They're watching what content is being produced. They're seeing the results, the quality. They're ensuring that this thing is working properly. What I want you to think of is like the Waymo model. See, an Uber driver, it's a one-to-one model. For every Uber driver or every Uber car on the road, there's one human driver. It's a one-to-one system. In order for Uber to double or triple or quadruple their business, they have to double, triple, and quadruple the number of drivers. Waymo, on the other hand, has an orchestrator, a model where they have one orchestrator or manager that oversees 50 to 80 cars. As their business scales and as their tech improves, that is probably going to improve as well to one orchestrator or manager looking over 100 cars, and then 200 cars, and then 300 cars. At some point, we might not even need to have humans overseeing that work because the AI and the technological tools become so advanced. So that's kind of this new model that's possible. We have Stanley. This is another tool, right? You manage your Twitter from SMS. You can leave voice notes, and this tool actually goes and publishes content for you, tells you about trends, makes post suggestions. You can take photos just directly from your iMessage and send it over to your agent, and it processes that stuff, makes recommendations, all that kind of stuff. That model wasn't even possible before. At E2M, we launched our AI solutions team. We actually are building AI solutions for our agency partners and for their end clients. You might have heard some of this from Kushbu earlier. We're building advanced automations. We're building custom agents. We're building AI applications. I want to put this in context. Last March, our AI services team had $0 in revenue. Like, this is brand new stuff, folks. We weren't doing anything with regards to AI. And now this business unit is on pace to do over $2 million in annual recurring revenue. These were things that we weren't even offering a year ago. We were just doing basic AI automations, and now that has evolved into these advanced automations, custom agents, and AI applications. So in the last, here's where we've seen growth. Our web team has grown by about 10%. That's WordPress websites, Webflow, Duda, Go High Level, all that kind of stuff. Our digital marketing team, AI search has been an explosion, is grown by over 85% year over year. Our AI services team, drumroll, over 9,000% growth, right? Literally, this is on fire. If you guys aren't yet offering AI solutions, if you're not talking about AI with your clients, I promise you there's still time. There's still time. There's so much opportunity here. It's insane. It's just now starting. This is web circa 1999, 2000. We're still just trying to understand what's going on here, but the cheese has moved. At E2M, we've found some new cheese. We want you to find some new cheese too. We want to encourage you to reinvent your business and avoid going extinct. So thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun. If you guys want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can use this QR code, and you'll be able to connect with me on LinkedIn, or take down my email address. I'll throw both of these links into chat. We'd love to have you guys connect with me as well. We'd love to invite you out to San Diego, California, February 2027. We're doing our next Vistara event. So if you haven't yet signed up for our Vistara waitlist, please do that. Go to joinvistara.com and you can sign up for our waitlist. All right. I'm done, Jen. I'm done.
Well done. Well done. Thank you so much, Brent, for being here and always sharing your knowledge and your thoughts with the whole community. And I'm looking forward to Vistara. It was a wonderful event. We've got a lot of questions, like a million questions, and we don't have a million minutes. So a question that we saw a lot over and over again, which I think is a very relevant question, is around, how do you get your team on board? I think I said answered live, but maybe I put the wrong.
Yeah.
How do you get your team on board?
There's definitely two parts. I think you should certainly give team a lot of encouragement, give people the tools, reduce red tape, do whatever you can to inspire your team to use the tools, create time for people to use the tools. But I think what's worked even better for us at E2M is creating a new team that does AI implementation, AI services, and actually thinking about what roles you need for that team and for that offering, and go out there and hire those people from day one. So not to say that we want to abandon our other teams. We want to give, and also existing team can apply for those positions 100%. But we spent about a year like really pulling tooth and nail to get, existing team members that are like front-end designers, front-end coders, back-end designers, right, to adopt AI tools. And what we found was most of them could start using AI tools in their workflows as an assistant. What we failed with, though, was that those team members were willing to build systems with the AI tools that actually replaced their role. And because it might be self-evident, right? But people are a little resistant when you're talking about like, hey, I do this job in the business and I'm going to create an agent that's going to replace the job that I do. Most people don't actually have the skills to build a system that does what they do, even though they have the expertise to do the work, right? They're just different things. And so we found building a separate team for that, hiring for it, creating an E2M Academy has been way more effective. So we went from having like 3 people on our AI team a year ago to now we have over 100 people. And that team is actually firewalled from the rest of the business. So, just like Netflix so what Netflix did when they launched their streaming business, they didn't go to their pack and ship floor. They didn't go to like the DVD floor and go, hey, team member that's like putting the DVDs in the envelope, we want you to come and create like a scalable Amazon cloud streaming and coding platform, right? Like they didn't do that, right? And that seems very obvious in that use case. They went and they actually found people that had that specialty and that expertise. So for some people that might be like a little bit of a hard answer, but I just really want to encourage you, if you're going to offer AI solutions, I would think of it as a net new business unit. It's not something that you're going to, really bring people over unless they're highly interested, highly curious, and willing to invest the time and energy to do the training.
Yeah, and we had a follow-up question around like growth mindset, and I think you've just answered it. But getting your current team to really understand that this is the way forward, right? Like we need to be on the boat together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as a leader, you present it, you talk about it. I mean, you talk about it so much that it feels like you're on repeat, right? If you start getting team members saying, "Yo," like when team members like, "Hey, Brent, like stop telling me about this," like I know like I'm halfway there. So as a leader, right, you have to be willing to sound like a broken record because people have a lot going on in their world, right? If you just tell a team, if you sent an email, one email or one announcement on one of your daily huddles, like, "Hey guys, spend more time in AI," right? That's not enough. And so you need to be repetitive about it. You need to also create time for people. But I'm also a big fan, like people got to carry their own bag. I mean, if this is going to disrupt your job, like I hate to say it, but like you probably, if you really are fearful of that, because people come to me like, "Oh, Brent, I'm so scared that AI is going to take my job." Cool. Well, how much time are you investing every week in AI? How much time are you spending nights and weekends? Like, my wife's currently going to law school in a part-time program. She's working full time and she's going to school 30 hours a week in her nights and weekends. And she's married. She has kids, right? So it's like, if you guys are really scared that this is going to take your job or crush your business, there might be a period, a season in our life where we have to be okay with kind of burning the midnight oil. Just like we would if we change any jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, worth the investment for sure. What about quality insurance? Like we've got a few questions being repeated here on like, how do you use AI to test everything that you are offering and delivering?
I mean, look, AI is still, and I love my like Bruce Lee analogy because like I think AI is still in like the 1-inch punch phase, right? There's several things that AI is still it's not killing directly, right? I was commenting to another team member. I was like, I still feel like AI is like the automated hand washing machines at like the airport, right? Like it's like, you put your hands under the thing, it like doesn't work. You go to the next one, doesn't work, you go up to get the like, it works sometimes, but not always, right? So I don't think AI yet is like this perfect solution. And so I definitely encourage, like, there's a lot of this human in the loop kind of mantra, right? So just look at what are those critical checkpoints, right? Like before something goes to a client, you might want to have a human like take a look at that. And also AI is tricky. It can make things look really good, but then at the detail level, because the AI maybe wasn't given the full context or hallucinated, it makes a material error that makes you look really stupid in front of your clients, right? So you can't just like look, oh, this looks right. You actually have to have somebody that knows what to look for and where to see how things are happening, right? Like our content team, for example, at E2M, they're not only content experts, but they're AI content experts, and they can spot AI content from like 10 miles away. And they know if you've read it or if you've written by something by AI, like they know immediately just by looking at it. And so they're not writing all of our content, but they are a last checkpoint before we deliver content to clients, so that we know like, hey, we've made sure that this has a really good human voice. It kind of hits all the check marks. So I think you want to have humans in the loop a lot. And if those humans start to feel like they're not really doing anything because it's working so well, then that's when you start to say, okay, well, maybe we take the human out of this loop or reduce what they're responsible for.
Fantastic. One last quick question. How do you recommend, what do you suggest for agency owners and agency leaders to be staying on the cutting edge?
I mean, I think it goes more than like using it every day. I mean, I think doing like task, looking at what you're doing on a daily basis, asking yourself if this can be done with AI, taking the time to build the agents and stuff like that. I mean, I use an OpenClaw assistant, and I think every other day I hit some limitation, and it kind of sucks because
Mm.
something happens that I wanted to get done with AI and it doesn't work. And then before you know it, I'm like reading like these, I'm reading these like get readme files and stuff like that. I'm like blowing 4 hours to figure out like how to create a workaround. But I think that's something that I know it's like I'm re-educating myself, and I'm realizing, okay, that's the best way to re-educate yourself is when you actually have a need or desire. Because I found for myself personally, when I have that goal and objective in mind, and the goal isn't just like educate myself in AI, right? When I really know, like, I've got to figure out how to get this assistant to do XYZ job, and I need to fix it by tomorrow, all of a sudden, like, I'm cranking through 50 articles, I'm scanning stuff, I'm asking questions, I'm staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning to figure it out, right? So I think when we actually use it and force ourselves into that situation, I think we're usually a lot more effective at doing that and adopting AI faster, right? And so, there's probably better tactics than that, but that's how I'm doing it, Jen.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Brent, for being here. I'm Jen Buzza, your host for this talk and a host for a good portion of tomorrow. So I will see you all later. We're going to take a short break here, and then we got a really fun meme activity. We're going to come back, and we'll be closing off with another guest speaker. So, Brent, thank you for bringing that knowledge. And all of you, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Jen.